Do we really need a welfare state? Hello and welcome to Politics by People for People with me, your friendly host, Stuart. And if you've seen me on YouTube before, my name is Scotch, of course. So, what is the welfare state? That is, of course, what we first need to answer. Now, if I move my mic slightly closer, I can explain this. The welfare state is and can be blurred quite often. Different countries have very different perspectives on it. People like Sweden see it as much more of a duty and something that should definitely be maintained, whereas nations like America see it as people should provide for their own selves, It's not something that's needed, or not in that shape or form that we might have it in Britain. Of course, I am British, I am Scottish, so I'm going to be looking at it from that perspective. So, what is it? It's social protection and services for all citizens. It's the idea that the state is responsible for the welfare of its citizens from the cradle to the grave. Many people have claimed it's a safety net, even its creator, but they've contradicted themselves. And other people have stated very different opinions. It's designed to stop poverty and unemployment. It's designed to stop illness. It's designed to prevent children falling without education, falling into illness. The list could go on, but those are the main kind of priorities of it. So, who benefits from the welfare state? Well, as common to popular opinion, you might just think it's the poor or the disabled. But, in actual fact, it's not just the poor, disabled, elderly and children. It's the workers, the manual labourers, the intellectuals. Everybody has a stake in it. Everybody profits from it. That is what the welfare state is. And how has it benefited us? Poverty has halved since the welfare state was introduced. Halved. It went down from 16% to 8%, roughly the figures. And that's since 1946. It's in 2012, of course. Now, that's not all, even. People are less likely to fall ill, of course. I mean, if you look at the life expectancy, the average life expectancy has gone up by about 20 years over that period of time. And so, it's more, I think, for women. But of course, it's not just their life expectancy, it's that they're less likely to get diseases, like, obviously, tuberculosis, or measles. Measles has been wiped out. That wasn't all thanks to the welfare state, but things like that were kept under control, or similar diseases that came after are kept under control by the welfare state, by the healthcare, which I am including healthcare and education in this example of the welfare state, and it can be disputed that they're not part of it, but I am going to include it. Now, not only that, but the infant mortality rate has gone down by something like 80%. Right? 80%. 80% less babies will die before the age of 1. 80% more children will be allowed into the world. And they will live not necessarily in poverty. If the welfare state works the way it should, they can live in peace and calm with a normal working environment. Now, of course, there's benefits for single parents, there's benefits for the elderly, etc. The list goes on. There's benefits for students even. That's something more relevant to me, but I can't go into all of it. That would take a very long time. So who pays for it? Now, it's common again to popular opinion that it's just the taxpayer even. It's just the rich. But in fact, it's everyone that uses it. It's everyone that has a stake in it. It's everyone in the economy. Think of it like this. Even the people on benefits. The government gives them money, right? These people then do things in return in most cases, and in most cases they then spend money, right? Now, when they spend money, that is, of course, taxed. The items they buy are taxed, right? Now, a lot of people on benefits also pay council tax, as something to remember, but all these items are taxed, so the money then, of course, goes back to the government. It's quite a big chain. It works, and it has worked. The public sector is not lost out, contrary to David Cameron and Nick Clegg's opinions, and George Osborne, of course. And how much does this cost us? Now, I can't give you an exact figure, but I believe it's around 25% of the GDP, and that was from a figure from 2008, I believe. Now, if we just look at that, 25%, okay? That's a lot, but when we're spending things like 15 billion on Trident, on updating our nuclear system, that is shown that 60-something percent, 50-something percent of people don't agree with nuclear weapons in Britain. And that was quite a worried survey done of lots of selected areas. And the problem with the system now is it's being cut down. It's being cut down to its very barren, its very bare minimum. It's not being able to do what it should. 50% of people used to work in the public sector. Now, of course, that also includes the police and the fire service and many other services, but essentially, they're all to do with the welfare state and the healthcare system, which was the biggest. But it's being cut down to its barren minimum. According to the Tories' agenda, while the rich can take a 5% tax cut, and some of them not even pay their taxes, the poor will be further exploited and forced into jobs of below or at the very minimum wage. And what's more, is they'll cut their support. They'll cut the welfare state, the only thing that has and ever will care fully about the people. It is fully for the people. This is cutting the people that need it most. And we have to remember that over 60% of people on benefits are working, full-time workers. So you can't just disclaim that they are benefit frauders or whatever. And yet another fact is often people claim that immigrants are, draining our benefits and healthcare. Well, only 0.6% of Polish immigrants that came to Britain have ever claimed a benefit. Okay? So, what can we do about it? Well, if I had my way, if Liberal Democrats had their way originally and hadn't sucked up to the Conservatives, or Labour had their way, or the Cooperative Party had their way, or the Green Party had their way, this system would work. My views are obviously slightly different, but it would work. It would work better than it is. And that's what matters. We need the best of what we can. We need to vote in a government that's going to do the best it can. Do you want to be the cause of the granny or the granddad or the old sitting there in their house, choosing whether they can eat their house, whether they can eat or heat their house this night? Do you want to be the cause of that? No? Do you want to just leave them there? Do you want to leave that child there? They've run away from home, they've been abused. Should they be able to get healthcare? Is it their fault? No. Should they be able to go in an orphanage? No? It's a bit arrogant, don't you think? And while the people at the top make their opinions on how it really is and what they're really doing, they know nothing of the real impact of what they're really doing, and they have not lived through it. And as someone who was a young carer who had disabled parents and people in his family on benefits, I know how it works. I know how the system works. So you can take it from me. Now, do you want to live in a society where you're supported from the cradle to the grave? Or do you want to live in a society that does not care if your cradle is your grave. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Politics by People, for People.